What's going on, people? Just thought I'd say hello. Looks like we got a couple of folks in here so far, which is cool. Might go ahead and just use the headphones there so we can kind of get rid of any potential echoes. There we go. Good to go on that. Hey, what's going on, Ray? Residential Basics, are you back yet? You said something about going and making some coffee there. And Jack, are you still out there too? That was 9:03. We're at 9:26 now. So looks like we are on time for once. No major issues going on as of yet. You never know. Always something can go wrong. Just don't know, do you? So anyhow, was working on a video today. Brought home a PTAC unit that had a evaporator that was bad on it. I didn't work on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday because the wife was having some surgery stuff. Having a spinal cord stimulator installed. She's the chronic flute, as you may know. And that was one of the easiest ways to deal with some of the pain in the body there because she has something called Hvacr. And basically, we went and did that, like I said, on Friday down in Columbus. So didn't have anything much recorded this week. So basically, was working on that video tonight, or I should say today. I started around 2:30 and finished up around, I don't know, 5:30-ish area. And basically was trying to get something out there because I know I don't know, just from what I'm seeing on the generator stuff, I mean, yeah, I focus a lot on refrigeration. So generators, for most companies, I don't think there's as many people out there across the country that do multiple different things like we do here in some of the smaller companies. Where I came from before, I did electrical, I did plumbing, I did heating, air conditioning, residential, commercial, did food service. It didn't really matter. I mean, if we ever got slow, I did instrumentation at a refinery once. So pretty much we did whatever there was. And so we're pretty diversified for those very reasons. I mean, I grew up with the farm mentality as in Hvacr for 3 years. Dad was a welder, so I know how to do welding. We built 5 houses, I think it was. So I've got building experience, a little bit of everything. So it was very difficult deciding what it was I wanted to do for a occupation, which I've mentioned before. Electronics was something I was going to do, and then at the last moment changed and went into the HVAC program that was brand new, only because the salesman that had sold my dad like 5 furnaces mentioned that they were starting a program. Now that was back in like 1995 area, and that's kind of how I ended up getting into the HVAC field. And I see we had a few more people pop in here. I want to say hi to Alexander out there and Ray. Looks like you guys just popped in here. And El Mono, what's going on, man? Greetings from Riverside. Super awesome. Love to see you guys. Put in there where you're from. That's always awesome for me. I enjoy seeing what kind of range and area that I'm getting out there. It's always interesting to me. It's just we take for granted that, yeah, we talk across the world, and if you think about it, I'm down here in my basement and I'm talking to people in multiple different countries all over the different parts of the world. I mean, it's amazing. Hello to the Martians and aliens and everybody else out there. So Northern Indiana, Superman, and North Carolina, Virginia, awesome. Oregon, New York, Myrtle Beach, man, I could go for some of those warmer climates. It's today was the first day in a long time that it's actually been warm. And hey, Beaver, what's going on, my man? Been watching you guys and stuff, doing different podcast or different shows and stuff. Canada, boy, nice and cold probably up there. And Rain, Ohio, you aren't too horribly far away. I don't believe. I'd have to look up and see exactly where that's at. Basically, I'm in the northwestern region of Ohio. So Kalamazoo, Michigan, I've been up there before, and quite interesting. Awesome. Indiana, Aussie, awesome. So, but as I was saying, I was working on that video. I was kind of getting things done, and I figured there's no way I'm going to get that completed. Before I knew it, I had an hour and 45 minutes of recording that I'm going to need to chop down and try to turn it into something. And it's like, okay, how much do I leave in here? Because that's always the dilemma that I have. Like even on the generator video that I did, that was a good hour and 40 some odd minutes. So it sometimes is better to record, stop, do your thing, record, start, and do your thing a little further. basically you run into an issue where you get too much footage and you're like, well, that might be important, that might be important. And then you spend so much time trying to cut things out. And it becomes a lot more of an issue trying to choose and pick what exactly it is you want to keep in the video. So, but back to the generator thing, I think it doesn't hit the right audience that I've got. But as I was mentioning, things are slow right now. So that was what I had, and that's what I ended up showing. Gave a little tidbit of some heating repair there, just basically going over a geothermal, which once again, not real popular out there. It seems like I do a lot of things that just may not necessarily hit the full audience that I'm, have viewing. So I do apologize for that. It's just, you never know what you're going to run into, and you kind of got to show whatever it is you're doing. So I try to make it interesting as possible. And, I'm working on, like I said, this other video to kind of make up for the fact that I see that the viewership's a little lower, the comments are a little lower, and that's what I strive for, is great feedback from everyone. And basically, I know that it'll eventually get great feedback eventually when the right person's looking for it, but it won't be my general audience that seems to watch it every week. Because, some of the other generator videos will get 7,000 hits, and generally what I think is what's going on here is either it's other service guys that are having some issues that I may have put keywords in there, what was going on, or it was a homeowner that had issues and they're wanting to know what's going on with their unit. So you really don't know why it gets hit when it gets hit and how long it takes to get there. But I have a feeling that that's where it's coming from and things like that. But I was checking out through some of my feeds and things like that of what, who I'm all subscribed to. I noticed I was looking through and I seen Hvacr just released a promo on some of his Man with Issues podcasts and things like that. And it was kind of interesting, because I know that some of the things that he interviewed people for was similar situations that I had, which, I thought worst case scenario, if something doesn't come up, we'll talk about those things. Because, one of the things that's quite interesting about my past, at an infant, I was adopted, and come to find out, basically, I'm a third generation HVAC / plumber background type thing. My bio dad basically has his state certification in plumbing for sure, general contracting license, and I believe he may even have his electrical. I'm not sure. He's got at least 3 or 4 different ones. He's got his boiler license, some other stuff. And then, it's just quite interesting when you had no idea that your family had that kind of background and you end up in it and not finding out that you were who they were until you're like 23 years old, that you even find these things out. It's totally interesting to even find out how in the heck you ended up in the field. It makes no sense. If it wasn't for, my family that raised me, building the houses that they'd done and things like that, I would have never ended up being around the person that my dad had. And I call him the guy that raised me my dad, just because, he earned that title, and I had a great childhood and all that stuff. So, I was lucky. The big thing with adoption, if you're adopted at an infant baby, I think I was a month old, basically, you're like, those are what everyone wants. So if you get at that area there, basically, everyone, they want those kids. And so basically, like my parents had to, the ones that raised me, took 7 years to get me, and then 7 years to get my sister too. And so, I had a 7-year lead on her, but then to find out, who all this other family was and stuff that you had, it's quite interesting. And if we have to go into that subject and stuff, you'll be definitely amused when you hear some of the stories about how we literally crisscrossed paths over and over. How I almost bought the house that they were moving out of, and the girl that stopped by to pick up something from the house, who was really pretty, and I even gave the eyeball, even though my current wife at the time was with us, and I come to find out later that was my freaking sister. And that's like, oh no, you got to be kidding me. Weird stuff like that. It just absolutely blows your mind. How in the world did this even come about? So, some interesting things there that, you just, in a million years, I always thought my life was kind of boring. And I guess maybe I do have kind of an interesting story there. I'm not sure, but, it's just one of them things that we can go into that, because I am anything but grateful for the experience that I got to go through. It was all for the best, and I had a great childhood. I was well taken care of. I was loved. Everything was great. And to see what things could have been the other way. On the mom's side, things were kind of rougher. On the dad's side, things were pretty okay. I take more after the dad's side of things, so my personality especially. Most people don't have the kind of personality that I've got, and basically, I found out that it's hereditary, because my boom in your face type personality is something that is definitely hereditary, and especially when you see it out of my sisters, because I literally have 3 sisters and a brother on the dad's side, and I had a brother and I still have a sister on the mom's side, and basically to see where I would have been and how I would have been separated in between 2 different homes and gone through all that crap. And after putting my kids through that personally with 2-parent family and stuff, I didn't have to go through that. So it worked out really well. And Ethan down here, which he usually goes by Dead Pixel, but it looks like he's signed in under a different account, which means he probably is not one of my administrators right now then, if he's not signed under that account. Basically, he's one of my, he is my son that I've got. So, and I have a daughter also. So I do got 2 kids. But yeah, it's quite interesting to look through the comments and stuff here. I see Beaver looked like he was adopted at birth. That's awesome. Hopefully it was a good experience for you too. Rich looks like his grandmother found out she was adopted at 65. Now see, with me, I was never, as soon as I was old enough to understand it, I was told about it. And, basically, it was never beat around the bush. I knew about it up front. It was never something to be embarrassed about. It was nothing, anything like that. So for me, I don't care. I was not looking to find out who it was. I literally was building the house that I live in now. And out of the blue, my biological mother had sent my parents a letter asking for permission to contact me. I'm 23 years old at the particular time that this happened. And so, she was respectful, which is awesome. And they called me over and basically had the talk with me and stuff. And it's like, whoa, this is kind of interesting. This lady tracked me down by as simple as looking at my birthday through the birth certificates at the health department, and boom, there's mine, and mine's a different color than everyone else's. And, that was a code that nobody necessarily knew. However, the people there said, hey, yeah, that means that something's different. Even though my birth certificate said who the biological family was, boom, there it is. And it's quite interesting because, if she was psycho, they did nothing to protect me. So thanks a lot. So, it's one of those oddities there that's quite interesting. So I'm trying to get the administration on here so I can answer some questions. Well, I don't know, Ethan, if you can, I don't know if I have to do that at a particular spot, or if you just want to log in through one of the other ones, that's cool too. Never hid from me. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, so for me, I knew up front, I highlighted one of the other comments, because a lot of these comments and stuff won't show up immediately after the live stream ends. So I like to try to click on these things so that you guys can see, if you're watching it later, what exactly is going on. That way you'll know what's going on as far as why we're talking and what we're talking about. I really like to be able to see the comments and stuff as I'm playing back or looking through some of these things. And I try to do that so that you guys know it too. Scroll back through here real quick and just kind of take a pico here and see if there's anything I'm missing. Does not look like it is, but wasn't really sure. So I'll just be upfront with you guys right now. Basically, may not be about HVAC. Honestly, the YouTube channel during the day when I'm shooting videos and stuff, that's going to be definitely obviously focused on HVAC or something related to it. Basically, that's obvious what it is. But the live stream thing is really my way of connecting with you guys, and get to know my audience and stuff. Because, the real reason why I do this, yeah, we make a little bit of money on this stuff. And until you're big time, you don't really make any real money at it. Most of my videos are making me $20, $30 because I'm only getting around, 1,500 to 4,000 views. And until you get up to the mega range, you don't make any real money. So the 4 hours, 5 hours, that you have invested in this thing, it's done for the actual joy of doing it. And the original reason, which I said, was try to help out some of the younger guys and things like that. And, the feedback I get back from it, honestly, is the largest reward that I get from it. It lets me know that I'm on the right track. I mean, everybody wants to be liked. Everybody wants to put out good content. Everyone wants to, be in the in. And that's what my goal was. I was never great at sports or things like that. So the one thing I am fairly decent at is my HVAC stuff. And so this is my way of being, the jock for once, at what I do. So, I mean, think of it as kind of stupid or whatever, but I mean, how many other people are actually trying to watch the videos to better themselves? I mean, there's several people on here that are, have got years in the trade, and yet they're trying to better themselves, or, they just are interested, or they're proud of what they do. And that's me. I love what I do. I like doing what I do. And, I want to become better. I mean, where I was at prior to where I'm at now, I was kind of getting bored with it. So, and I've mentioned that before, but, by getting reinvested into it, kind of starting all over when I went into the refrigeration stuff, I had background in it, but nowhere to the extreme of what I do now. So, a lot of the things I'm showing, I don't have, 6 years is not really crap. I mean, into that. And even when I'm going into the larger stuff, it's like starting all over. I go on call Monday, tomorrow, in 2 days, and I'm on call for the Memorial Day weekend. So I'll be working on Monday also on call. So, I could get through refrigeration far as the grocery stores and stuff like that. I don't have a lot of experience with it. So I'm the rookie all over again because of my experience being a little bit limited. I've played with the stuff. I've been in there. I know where things are at, but to know that like the back of my hand is not the case. And I'm not going to lie to you guys about it. So, I mean, there is a reason why sometimes I make mistakes here and there, or don't get the answer on some of my videos immediately, super quick. And it's because, I'm learning with you guys at the same time. I mean, my basics and understanding of the superheat, subcooling, and all that stuff, I mean, that's all solid. But when you throw in the other components that you never ran into, a lot of times that's the reason why that it may take me a little bit longer on certain things. And like I was watching, got into a discussion with someone, I forget exactly where, and they said something about, well, I seen the video where it took him forever to diagnose the headmaster control. And it's like, okay, never had a headmaster control do what it did. And there's a lot of times where I can't always express everything history-wise, why I'm there and what I'm doing, because it may involve other people that, don't want to be mentioned. So there might be reasons why there's more to the story, but I don't want to go into that because I don't want to get in trouble higher up the ladder and have anything removed from me. So I'm trying to protect that information a lot of times. So kind of keep that in mind when basically things seem like something's missing. There might be something missing, but I'm not going to endanger shutting the whole system down because I said more than what I should say, just because that's just the way things are. As far as starting refrigeration there, basically, I started in 95 for the just regular HVAC, and we did mainly residential and light commercial. And I mean, for 2 years, I worked for a Linux dealer, so we did what was called planned service. So I did clean, check, tackle, and service 6 times, 7 times a day for almost 2 years before I was even allowed to go on call. And then a few years later, when, more people started coming out of the classes and the schools and stuff, they were throwing these guys on almost immediately. So I literally had to beg to get on call. I wanted to do it. I loved what I did. I was very enthralled and enthused with what I was doing. I mean, so much that I named my dog Nitro, not because of the Jetsons, but because of nitrogen. It's powerful. It was a Rottweiler. So it was kind of a cool name. So, basically, as far as the refrigeration stuff, I would say my first one was when I started working for the very first guy that I used to, when I was working at this one company, the very first person I worked with, which I had to do install in the beginning. So I've got installation experience. I can make plenums and transitional takeoffs and all that stuff. I can lay out a full house system. I can do all that. I'm not real great at doing the load calculations and things like that. I rely on other people for that if I needed to do it, like for my in-laws. I went ahead and hired, or I shouldn't say hired, I do stuff for this guy that used to be our salesman that knows all the calculations and stuff. And I went ahead and you go after the people that are good at what they do. So I went after him to lay out their system. So basically, he laid it out for my in-laws. So I'm not great at everything. You cannot be great at everything. It's almost impossible. I thought it was possible, but it's not. So basically, the very first guy I worked with when I first started back in '95, I later went to work for him later when he went on his own. Several years later, and we took care of Taco Bell. We had a total, I think, about 8 to 10 different Taco Bell stores. We had 3 or 4 different Bob Evans and a few mom and pop type stores and stuff like that. But I also did a crap load of plumbing. So I was changing toilets, I was augering sewers and drains and changing labs and doing all that crap, and I hate plumbing. Even though, like I said, my bio dad's a master plumber, I hate plumbing. I don't like nothing to do with it. It's not what I went to school for. I like being a service guy in the HVAC field, but I can do that stuff. I just don't like doing it. So are you good at schematics? Yeah. Like I said, I was into electronics and stuff. So I know all the individual components as far as, transistors, diodes, gates. I mean, you name it, forward and reverse bias, negative, positive, temperature coefficients, all that stuff. I knew all the individuals, but what I would have loved to learn from electronics would have been to get into putting it all into the circuit, which I bought programs on how to do that. And once again, you run into not having time to do it. But far as the into the refrigeration stuff, I would say that was probably in 2003-ish area. 2002 was when I started doing all those restaurants and stuff. But like I said, we weren't just doing exclusively just that. We were doing a little of everything, and we, the guy that I worked for, basically, even though I moved around for, 4 or 5 different companies, most of these companies started at one place, and then even the owners sometimes would leave and buy another company, and then the name would change, and then all the employees would go as a group to them. So I've moved around some, but I've worked with the same people over and over. Now, where I'm at now, I've never worked at before and never worked with anyone that I'm with. So it was a complete new, learning experience and stuff like that. And we primarily, we're multiple different branches, but we primarily do refrigeration at the branch I work for, but we also do a lot of residential with the other branch that I also take care of. So I still do quite a bit of both. So basically, I had probably 2 years of pretty decent amount of refrigeration. I also worked for a contractor for about 5 months, 6 months, basically that did the grocery stores. And I went around with one guy, and, back then I think I was making like $15 an hour. So, I was not making crap loads of money at the particular time, but we went out and, they could afford to run me with that guy because, I was at a lesser pay rate, and I went with him to all the different grocery stores, which we now have at the place I'm at currently. And so I got to see the racks. I got to see, I got to change some of those monster compressors. I got to do, full PMs on the stores and all that stuff. So I've been around it and intertwined in it, but I never got to do a crap load of the stuff on my own nonstop. And it's just like even now with where I'm now, where I'm doing, everything from reach-ins to walk-ins and things like that. My experience level now, 6 years, kind of coming on the 6th year now, compared to before, I thought I knew a lot then. Now it's like, wow, I didn't know nothing. So there's a lot to it. And, overall, like I said, I've been doing it since 95. So there's 25 years, but it wasn't all just one thing. When I was doing just residential, I mean, if I was to do those kind of videos, and a lot of times it's just like anything, when you're doing them, you're like, okay, is anyone interested in it? Because if there's someone else at the same skill level as me, they're going to think what I'm doing is boring. And why am I doing this? And they're going to think, oh yeah, no kidding, Yahoo, that's stupid. Why'd you even do it? So I have a hard time deciding what do I want to show. And, is this too easy to the point where no one's going to appreciate it and they're going to think it's dumb? Or is it going to truly be the person that hasn't seen it or that's trying to polish it up, kind of like the same I was doing when I was trying to get further into the refrigeration stuff? Are they going to appreciate any little tidbit of information that they can get to where, they're like, oh, cool, you learned something there, because there's always things that you're going to pick up. I'm always amazed when I get the comments back that, hey, I knew how to do that, but I picked up one little thing from you. And honestly, if you can pick up one thing here and there, and that makes your job easier down the road, I mean, isn't that kind of the whole point of the whole thing to begin with? So, that's my biggest struggle right now when I'm not real sure where to go with some of the videos and things like that. So, I mean, I'm not real sure which videos I can do. And a lot of times I have no control over. It is what I go to. So if I go to something that it's just the same little units over and over, then that's all I've got. I mean, I can't say, hey, I want to go do this right now. And oh yeah, we'll do that just for you. That don't happen. So especially right now with one of the guys that was also helping out with the ice cream stuff, he ended up leaving, going somewhere else. So I'm taking on all the other ones that we split up between us. So I'm doing all the ice cream stuff. So right now I'm swamped ass busy because ice cream is getting ready to explode right now, especially, I mean, granted, it started in March, but we got some companies or some little ice cream places that are opening up late. Right now, from what I've been told, those guys are booming because it's a happy food. I mean, it's, with everything that's gone crap in the world, that's a way to kind of enjoy life somewhat with the small pleasures of ice cream. I mean, it's it makes you smile. I mean, believe it or not. I mean, it sounds stupid, but it honestly is the case. I mean, the ice cream thing, I didn't know if I wanted to go into it, but I'm very glad I did. Any advice? Hey, what's up north? Any advice? The biggest advice I would say to anybody that is either bored with what they're doing, or if they're new and they want to be more valuable, or if, what can they do to make themselves better? Don't do what everyone else is doing. Do what everyone else don't want to do. Because, if it's something that's specialized, like the ice cream thing, I was off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week, and the guy was waiting till Monday, and he's opening on Monday. So his cabinet on his ice cream machine, even though it's only a 2-year-old machine, is not working. He's willing to pack it on ice to get himself by because he wants me there and not someone else that, yeah, they're more than capable if it's something, just say it's the cabinet, no big deal. But he don't want to take a chance of there being other things that need to be fine-tuned and have someone that doesn't necessarily know it as well as I might. And that's not to sound like I'm bragging or anything like that. It's just that, hey, he wants it, done as quickly as possible, which saves him money. And, rightfully so. And I've built rapport with my customers, which is another thing we try to do. We try to go back and keep the same guy at the same place over and over. If it's a place you like to be, it's awesome. If it's not, that sucks. But, when you know where everything's at, it only makes sense to send the same gentleman back over and over because you know right what the history is, you know right where things are at. And, it makes it better for you and for them. And if you're doing a good job, it's less work the next time you go. It's when you go and, you haven't been there for a while, and the last guy went there because you did a really good job cleaning it, and he decides to cut corners and say, hey, the evaporator's pretty clean, I'm not going to bother cleaning it. Now you come back and the thing's packed full of crap, and you got to spend more time doing it. That sucks. So it's kind of good when they keep things on the up and up there and keep the same people there. So, but yeah, that's the interesting thing there as far as the years of experience with the refrigeration and stuff. But scroll through here and see if there's anything that I'm missing. Doesn't necessarily look like it. I see Residential Basics, you've made it back, man. Congratulations. Hopefully you got your coffee ready to go. You never know. Last Saturday, before I knew it, was flicking 2 hours and 30 some odd minutes. Oh, looky there. It's the Zach, man. Zach, are you on another date with your lovely wife, or are you like building a deck now, or what's going on, man? I emailed you like you asked. Didn't hear from you, but it sounds like you're pretty busy, which is cool. Hey, what's going on, Hoser? Hey, what's going on? So basically, that's some of it there. But like I said, the adoption thing, we can go over some of that. I don't really care if it's interesting to you guys. We can go over some of that. Like I said, I'm using my Saturday nights to kind of get to know you guys. So it doesn't have to be HVAC related necessarily. The little number up here at the top, 63 right now, that's going to tell me whether or not it sucks or whether it's going. And honestly, I'm having fun. I prefer to have 300,000 people watching at one time, but you know what? I'm having fun all the same, whether it's 15 people or 300,000. And the biggest thing here is just enjoy what it is you're doing. What's my plan for my YouTube channel? Honestly, I want to get big. I would like to have 100,000, 125,000 plus, but it's not going to come overnight. It's going to take a lot of work, and it's got to be something that the people want. I've noticed though, but as I'm kind of looking around today and things like that, the people that have 16,000, 20,000 people, and I'm looking at their views, some of them are only getting 4,000, 5,000 views. So just because you got 20 some thousand subscribers doesn't mean you're getting 20,000 views. Otherwise, they don't go hand in hand. So you really kind of got to look at the sound is good with mic so far away. It's about that far. I'm using a condenser microphone. It's an Audio-Technica 3040. So it's a condenser, so it's going to be a little more sensitive. Basically, I've got it pointed right at me, so that's how we're getting away with it. But yeah, I kind of got it down there because honestly, I'd like to. I could use a lapel. I've got one of those. I've got handhelds, wirelesses. I got all kinds of crap. So get your earbuds in. I don't have them. I don't have them here with me. I was actually going to use some true in-ear monitors. Basically, I was thinking about either getting some of the higher end Sures or possibly some other different ones. So, I mean, because like I said, I run sound and stuff like that on the weekends, which I mentioned the last time. I pretty much went to went into all kinds of different discussions in the last one. Pretty much went off the deep end. We covered religion. We went into politics. We went into pretty much everything you should never talk about. And that's me. I go where you shouldn't go. And it is what it is. So these are pretty good headphones, though. These are the Audio-Technicas also. Audio-Technica is technically based here in Ohio. They're up by the Cleveland area. These are the 50X something or another's. What are these things? The ATH-M50X. They're classified as a studio monitor. They're not bad for $150. I had some Shures. And, you know, Sure, sometimes you're paying for the name. Now, granted, these were some cheaper ones. I think they were only like $80. They're SRH 240As. They were fairly cheaper. I bought them when I was still DJing. Same thing with these headphones here. These got pretty good isolation, but I mean, there's definitely other ones out there. I mean, you can spend $500 to $1,000 in headphones. It's not necessary a lot of times, so I can't complain. So basically, watching 1917. I don't remember that one. Yeah, Ethan, you're the reason why I got these things. So, but yeah, there's some interesting things we can go into here. Have I got burned by refrigerant? Yeah, I mean, it happens. I mean, anymore nowadays, I mean, if you ever seen my hands, I mean, these things are cut up. I don't wear gloves very often, as you can see. They generally don't last very long. You're supposed to wear leather gloves. You know, I have a hard enough time just running my safety glasses, which, you know, I've got one eye weaker than the other, so I really can't afford to lose an eye. I'd probably be screwed, so I try to make sure that I wear those too. So burned wise, I mean, you kind of learn. If you notice on my gauges, my ball valves are right at the very end. Those, to me, I love those gauges the most. They tend to get in there, pretty tight spots and stuff like that. I also enjoyed using the ones where you screwed on the female connector first, and then you shoved it into it and it'd lock in. Not real popular, don't see it very often, but what was cool about it is you hit the button and it popped right off, and then you could unscrew it. And that was probably the least lost refrigerant when I used those. But they weren't good for pulling a vacuum. I hate those dumb ones where you back them up and it's built into it. Those things are garbage. I had Yellow Jacket, which Yellow Jacket's usually top of the line, but those are not made for 410A, and that was the excuse they gave me. So that's why I stick with the ball valves. I don't like the unscrew ones. They're really hard to turn anyhow when they got refrigerant behind them. So yeah, you get burned, but you get used to it. It's, you learn to put your hand in a certain area. You learn to look at your Schrader cores. How far are they depressed? Are they way in deep? Do you need to extend your depressor a little further out? If you keep it back some, it helps. I mean, you learn these tricks over time. So I only assume that, you might be a little newer, and forgive me if I'm wrong. Because the burn thing is not, that's just something that you notice and you pay more attention to when you're a little bit newer. And that's not a downgrade or anything like that. That's just basically my question. So not a big deal either way. So, oh no, it dropped to 58. Things are going downhill already. So low loss fittings. Yeah, that's correct, Ray. That's what they were. So I bought those once, and that was, the end of those. So, what do we got here? But like I said, I'm working on that video. I'll have it probably done tomorrow. I've got things going on obviously in the morning, but I'll get that put out. Once again, I look at it and it's like every time I get done with the video, it's like, is this even worth showing? Because I mean, I'm changing the evaporator again, so it's like, how many times can you do it? But be honest with you, this Hvacr unit, which basically must be a carrier of some sort because it came from our carrier distributor, It's a Frederick. I hadn't changed one before, so yeah, it's easy. But do you know where all the screws are at? Do you know what wire ties you're gonna have to cut? Which ones you don't have to? Is there things you got to take off that you didn't have to take off? Which I found out I did things I didn't have to do. So there's a lot of time that was wasted. So it may help out somebody later when they're. So yep. Now you shouldn't say that. You had to blow the charge. It was an accidental de minimis release, man. Come on. So I always was worried about showing anything similar to that. That's just horrible. But yeah, that's just some of it, and it really just depends too. A lot of times, good channels. I mean, my favorite for the longest time was Raritan, which I know there's like two Raritans. One that does refrigeration. There's one that does the residential. Steven was the one, which I think they may even have the same freaking name. I don't know. Maybe I don't say the guy's name right. I'm not sure. But I mean, that he always did a lot of things. I learned how to calculate your capacitor. I was like, what the hell is he doing? And I'm watching it and I'm like 2652 times the amperage divided by blah, 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 which I always have to use a shortcut to kind of remember because I forget. And, I learned some things there off him. Some of the stuff was just review, same old stuff, but it's, you can learn something off everybody. Holy mackerel. Collection of ice cream machines. Those things are like the ones I'm working on are about 900 and some pounds because they're dual-sided deals, and holy crap, that's crazy. Wouldn't have any place to put them. If you notice in the video that I did today, you're going to see the inside of my garage/barn, and you're going to see condensers and compressors and stuff like that. When I wasn't allowed to record at the particular time, I started bringing home a lot of stuff, and literally I've been throwing stuff away since then because they were things that I was going to try to build. My ultimate thing I'd love to build is a condenser with sight glasses in the beginning, middle, and end so that you can actually see the refrigerant flashing and changing state, and then put multiple thermistors in different locations to show everything that they tell you, because I don't believe anything I'm told and only half of what I see. So, I like to see it. I ever since I remember seeing water boil at room temperature because of vacuum, that was so much easier to remember. And I'm a person that remembers things by visual. I learn things better by visual than reading about it. And so, it's one of them things where basically that's how I'm a visual person. And generally, more technical people like us generally are. Tips for brazing, about your hook type brazing tip. I've got the Captain hook, which you don't ever see me use it very often. That one can be a little tricky. You've literally got to kind of run the pressures where they want you to put them at, which I wrote down what they were on my toolbox with my labeler because I forget. The Captain hook's kind of cool, but once you start having a couple backfires, basically where it comes back into the tip and stuff, and your arrestor has to catch it, they tend to not work as well anymore after that. So, usually a number 2 I use for everything. That's one nice thing about oxyacetylene. I like to throttle it down because you're not going to hurt anything when you're talking oxyacetylene versus like the turbo torch where, they're not made to burn back into the turbulator basically. And so, I mean, I when I first started, we did Stay Bright 8 for everything. And it was because the shop didn't want to pay for, now granted, we're talking my first employer, didn't want to pay for the torches and stuff, so we basically used Stay Bright 8 for everything. And that was fine with R22 and 410 hadn't came out. Like I said, 95, 97, 98, all that area there. We was using Stay Bright 8. And Stay Bright 8's fine as long as you clean it and use the flux the way you're supposed to. The problem is, and we found this out later with especially like 410A, a lot of the manufacturers like Carrier even, says that if they see that you use Stay Bright, they're wanting to void warranty because you're getting the flux and stuff into the line set, which is causing supposedly acid or something like that. And so they've been complaining that they don't want that done. So Stay Bright's great. You just don't ever want to use it on the compressor, discharge, stuff like that. I don't use it at all. When I went to work for another company, he required brazing for everything. And so I had to learn how to do it. We used like the turbo torch thing then, the single-headed pop, boom, it goes. So I learned how to control my heat. Then when I came back to the company I first started with, and literally I went back and forth. I was a $1 an hour more kind of guy, and unfortunately back then that was how you had to work your way up the ladder, and you were always worth $1, $2, $3 an hour more to come back. And basically, that's how I kind of got my start. The one guy that I learned probably the most off of, far as brazing and a few other things, I learned a lot off that guy. He was my, what some of the kids or some of the even like Dave and stuff, the old timers they would call him, because you figure I was 19 when I started. So even, at the 20, 22, 23 years old type thing, I was still a kid or whatever. And so, basically, the guy was kind of like, took me under his wing like I was one of his kids or something and showed me how to do things. Ghost voltage and amps. Yeah. I'm sorry. I get sidetracked as we're doing things. That's why I bought the Fluke 117. I picked it up cheap. Some kid bought the wrong one for school because the college is still here. And so I got the 117 for the low impedance. So that gets rid of that ghost voltage. I did a small video on it, but so did Curious the one time. So I didn't know if it was worthwhile to show it or not. But I've been tricked by that type of stuff, the ghost voltage stuff. But so anyhow, I'm totally off track here. I'm not even sure exactly where I was going at, but brazing wise, number 2 is what I use for most of my brazing. I've got a regular copper / a Harris style tip where it has, it's kind of a C-ish shape. It kind of goes long and comes back and then one here. So that one's pretty neat if you're in tight spots where you can't get in there. I like that one. That one doesn't have the problem with the backfiring, basically, where you knock it out or whatever. It doesn't care if it gets dirty near as much. Captain Hook, it acts stupid on me. I have a rosebud tip. You've never seen those probably in any of my videos either. I only use that on special occasions. So that one is really handy. I mean, it can do, the one is a -4, I think. It'll do up to 6-inch freaking copper. Even though I have small torches, it'll freaking do it. And then I have the other one, which I think is a -3 or something. That one's good for, I think, 4-inch or 3-inch copper, which generally 3 or 4 inch is about as big as we're going to get, even on some of the suction headers and stuff on the racks. And a lot of times too, you can just work your way around it. You don't have to try to have the whole thing, and do a like you would with a soft solder or something like that. There's nothing wrong with working your way around it and just pull your heat into the joint and work your way around it. So nothing wrong with that. Hopefully it answers your question there on the torch tip thing. So I'll post on torch tip that surrounds the fitting and quickly heats. I can't remember the name. That's probably the one that I'm talking about, the Captain Hook. It's basically, they got 3 different sizes, I think. It looks like a question mark. And basically one of the cool things about it is, say you're looking straight on at it, the cuts in it shoot the flame backwards towards or away from whatever it is you're working on. So if you're doing a filter dryer, you can literally get right up against the filter dryer and it'll shoot it away from the metal, so you're not torching the paint off of it, which, another one of those little hint things you learn over time. I always put it at the outside unit because I was lazy and didn't want to come inside the building. But, as you learn, obviously the last thing that it's going to screw you is if it gets caught into your orifice on the inside or your TXV or screen or whatever. It's better to have that thing on the inside because it's not going to rust. So, I mean, it's a pain in the ass because you got to come into the house. You got a chance of possibly setting off smoke detector, all that kind of crap. But that's the right way to do it. And, it looks a little nicer and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that hopefully answers that on the brazing tip there. Hey, we're back at 63. I'm popular again. Cool. So, let's see here. Maybe bad batch. It could have been. What was cool though is I called them about it and told them about the torch head being stupid and not working right, and they swapped it out for me. A lot of these factories are really good about that stuff. They seem to, if you call them and explain it and you don't sound like you're being shady and trying to, sneak one over on them, basically they usually take care of you, which is kind of cool. I've had good luck with, quite a few different manufacturers, whether it be Hvacr or Field Piece or Harris or, some of the other different ones. So, yeah. I don't know if that one was directed towards me or not, but I don't have either one of them. Redfish, I was looking at getting it, and I chose not to. Basically, I've tinkered around with like the amp probe, which is owned by Fluke, and it had a lot of cool gizmos in it, but I had a lot of issues with it because it had DC amperage, which I use with the generator stuff because I do a lot of battery checking and stuff like that. So basically, I end up going with that Fluke 902, which is stripped down meter. It has very little of anything on it, but really for 90 some odd % of what we do in the HVAC field, it's plenty. If you're doing generators, obviously it's not enough to do everything you need because you got to have frequency. But, I've got the Fluke 376, which is badass, and, it does frequency through the clamp and all that stuff. So let's see here. Is anything much more here on this? So just mainly got our gossip hour going on here. But yeah, back to the question from John. Basically, yeah, channel. I'd love it to go somewhere. I mean, it's a slow process. I mean, even like say Steve Lab out there. I mean, it took him 6 years, 7 years to get to where he's at, and his personality, I think, is what draw a lot of people in there. I mean, love him or hate him type thing. I mean, he's got a boisterous New Jersey type personality, and I think either you're going to love it or you're going to hate it, but it's working for him, so that's awesome, And you can learn a lot of stuff. I mean, if I have a plumbing issue and I don't know what I'm doing, I mean, hell yeah, I'm going to watch his program because he does a lot of plumbing. He's a master plumber, and he does a little of everything. So, it's just like anything. You're going to learn a little something from pretty much everybody. None of us are super techs. I mean, we all got our goods and our bads, and we may think in our mind that we're great, but there's always somebody that's going to be a little bit better. And the sooner you learn that, the better off you'll be. And I would hope that we don't have to do the bigger Peter contest here type thing on that stuff. Because, I mean, everybody's going to be better at something. It just depends on what you work on. Because if you're always working on the same thing over and over, you're going to be really good at it. And that's just the way it is. For me, I'm moving around into so many different things. It's hard to get great at one particular thing. But yeah, if you guys do have any questions, by all means, please throw it in all capital letters there and stuff. It's the Rick question hour here. It basically whatever. I don't hide anything, and I don't really have any secrets that I know of. But yeah, back on the adoption thing, which is kind of interesting. I thought, we'll be the subject of whatever. Like I was saying, when I found out that my family and stuff was in the HVAC field, and my bio dad basically had his own company. Now he's he's getting older, so I think he's 60. What is he? 65, 62-ish, somewhere in that ballpark. So now he's actually working for some well-off-to-do guy down in Columbus, Ohio, building these big apartment complexes and condominiums and a few other things. Because as you get older and stuff, you don't want all of the rigmarole on it. Owning business is not what you think it is a lot of times. I mean, like I said, I was service manager for 8 years. And so I got about as close as you're going to get without spending crap loads of money and putting your life on the line to being a owner. I mean, I literally got to see the spreadsheet with our costs of what was our cost of business, what was we making on our jobs. I was seeing, the hours and time, the unapplied time. That's probably the biggest dirty word you can get, unapplied time. I was, and I was always, because I have a business background far as just from the DJing, which you wouldn't think it, but I mean, when you're doing a full-time job doing this here and then making $20-some thousand doing DJing and had 3 systems going, and I was busy every weekend doing anywhere from 48 to 50 some events when I was at my high peak, plus doing this stuff. I mean, I was making more money doing DJing than I was doing freaking this. I mean, I was doing weddings for $1,200 and $1,400 a night. When everyone else was making 400 and something. So it's all about marketing. So, you learn a lot about the business stuff, and I'm not saying that I could go out and just start running my own, by no means, but you learn a lot about it, and depending on the level of what they put on their service managers and stuff, you can learn a lot of stuff. I mean, we went into flat rate, which, we're a small town, and, we didn't want to screw nobody because flat rate can be profit-based big time. So we literally went in there and overrode a lot of things. to make things fair. Because I mean, when you're in a smaller town, I mean, our city size here is like 35,000 people. I mean, that's piddle dink compared to the people that are 500,000, 1.5 million, 10 million, depending on where you're at. I mean, we're in a small area, so if you get a bad reputation, you can't just go to the next person. So, I set up the flat rate program. Flat rate plus, I think is what it was called. I forget exactly. It's been, 2006 through 2014 was when I was a service manager. So that was quite interesting. That guy that taught me how to braze and stuff, I basically took his job. So, go figure. Yeah, it's quite an interesting story there and stuff. But I released a video last week. Yeah, Zach's got all kinds of cool things going on with his channels and stuff. Search for, the cool thing too. I noticed one guy asked me about videos and stuff, and I could probably show it. I don't know if you guys, how good you are at understanding as far as how to find all the videos a particular person has. And hopefully I don't screw myself here by doing this. But let me see if I can do this here. Let's do a screen share. Screen share. Hopefully I can figure out how to get past this thing. And select a window. Let's go NVIDIA Firefox. Let's go that. And allow it. Okay. Will it show it? I don't know. Can I do both at the same time? It's not wanting to show it, is it? I should be. I don't know why it's wanting to show it. So basically, let's not do that. Okay, so basically what I was going to show you here, and let me see if I can figure out what I did wrong. Maybe I didn't use the camera, share the screen. I'm trying to figure this out on the fly. I do apologize. Allow temporary. So it should have showed it, but it's not showing it. Tell you what, let's kill that. I know it can do it, so just give me a moment here. I apologize. Just a moment. Let's go into screen share again. Share screen is the easiest of 2 monitors, blah, blah, blah. Use Chrome if you'd like to share a screen in audio with your audience. I don't want to use Chrome because Chrome sucks with this program. Okay, sharing it. Okay, select window screen. Let's go NVIDIA. See if this works. It still don't show it there. StreamYard? Yeah, maybe, kind of. Sure, let's see how this happens. We're probably going to get feedback. Okay. And so let me see if I can see this for a moment. Let's shrink that down. Let me see here. So we should be able to see it. So say you're on your main page, and here's like, say mine. You go into your videos, or let's say, for example, actually, let's go into just YouTube in general. Hopefully this is showing up. If it's not, forgive me. So here I am. Click on that. This is going to be just the screen that you're looking at. So you go over to the person themselves, and it should bring up their whole site. Okay, here we go. Click on this thing called videos, and this is going to show all their videos that they have to offer. Hopefully this thing's showing up. Yes, it is. Good. Okay, so if you go into this page here, you can see everything they've got. You can see my little finger here showing you the videos. And then here's the playlist. This is playlist of the things that, we've organized it. And this may be elementary, but, just in case, the video page here, you can go in here, and this is every one of them. So you don't have to rely on the YouTube to tell you exactly what that they're showing and stuff. Now, see, here's all the videos you all can't see that I am planning on potentially going through and releasing again. And so what I will probably do if I do this is I'll probably go ahead and just say, hey, here's what we got. If you noticed, it all says Northwest Ohio HVAC. I want to remove that. I got to go through and get rid of anything basically that shows the company information, because, that was part of the deal we worked out. They allow me, but we try to keep everything pretty much confidential, but here how splitting a condenser coil and reach-ins, which is the best HFC refrigerant detector, that turned into a total joke. That thing's definitely not it. So you'll see a lot of that right there. Here I am using the amp probe versus the Fluke 87.5 versus the 376. So there's a lot of different things there that you can do. Let me pop back over to here and stop the screen share. There we go. So good point, Vlogger. What's going on, man? You still never got a hold of me. I thought you wanted to come on, man. You're killing me here. You could have came on tonight. Matter of fact, if you want, I can send you the link and you can come on now if you'd like. So, but yeah, basically that's how you can go in there and see some of those other things. Yeah, there you go. Let me know. Do you guys even want to see the crap? Do you think it sucks? You prefer not to see it? You're only here because you have nothing better to do? I mean, I don't care. Just let me know. That way I'm not wasting your time or mine going through it, because a lot of times it's not the most fun job in the world going through there. There's not a whole lot to do. Just a little chop here and there and stuff. Some of them don't have hardly anything exposed or anything, but that's some of it there. I'm not sure if, Hoser, if you're saying short clips. I don't know if you're talking about as far as the video itself, because if the video comes in, say anything under 11 minutes, the viewership is going to be low. So YouTube sees you as putting out videos that are failing. And so they're going to recommend you less, because we literally get feedback saying that this video is performing lesser than your last video and the viewership is low, and people are only viewing it for 46% of the time for a total of 8 minutes versus the 15 minutes that it is. So you're like, okay, are we doing, basically we doing something that they don't like, because that's my thought process behind the Generac video. It's what I had. It's all I had to do. So, basically it's going to hit other people that are maybe looking for it, like I said. But for the most part, I kind of get judgmental on myself here, because I don't want to put stuff out there that's not getting the feedback that I'm looking for. And that's kind of the thing. I assume that's for hiring people there. And let's see here. So we pretty much don't really have any questions. There we go. There we see. What refrigerant are you seeing in the new medium temp walk-in equipment? You gotta remember, I'm not an installer, so I'm not always seeing a lot of that. And I think we were going, I know, like, say the ice cream stuff was going 440, I'm thinking 8, but I'm not 100% certain. I forget. The class was almost a year ago. I haven't seen any of those new machines, so they're still running 404. 407C and stuff like that, I know is all going to get basically kicked to the curb. Any of the 400 series is. It's going on curious. I didn't see that until now. So, but 407C, F, those were what we were using shortly here, but I know that they're not long-term. So those are some of the ones that we've been using. I've converted quite a few 22 systems to 407C. I kind of like it a little bit better than F, but what's funny is when I watch some of the other guys, they're using A, but I don't have a lot of options. I got to use whatever everyone else is, what they're choosing to go with. And the guy that would choose that has got close to 38, 40 years with the company. So he's going to make that decision, and I'm going to use whatever it is he provides. Same thing with like our parts and tools. I mean, I myself personally am used to having everything on my truck, and it kills me to have to order parts and go back. It drives me nuts. I used to keep because when I was on call, I didn't want to go back to shop. That's a waste of time. I used to keep a freaking sub pump on my truck. I kept every one of the generator boards on my truck, all the voltage regulators, the transformers, transfer switches, 2 of every Linux control board. And if you've done Linux, how many flipping control boards the Linux has got. I carried probably 4 or 5 of the carrier boards. I carried 3 or 4 Linux motors, and then a couple of the universal motors, condenser and blower. My truck was packed full of stuff. And now my truck, I'm almost embarrassed to even show it, because there's not crap hardly on the thing. I carry a couple blower motors, a couple condenser motors, my pressure, high and low pressure, fan cycle control, oil switch, dual pressure control, a couple universal, and hell, we didn't even have universal hot surface igniters until I complained enough to finally get them. Otherwise, we carried one for, carrier. And if it's any of the newer nitride igniters, I don't have any of that. So if I have a problem with one of those, I'm screwed. I'm going to have to go back to the shop and go try to find one. So, I checked out Word of Advice guy. He's an interesting guy. He's got 100 and some odd thousand. I know there's a lot of hate out there for him for showing so much of the stuff to the point where it's almost replace you type thing. But myself, some of the things that he shows, I don't want to go that far just because I don't want to get blamed for somebody getting hurt. And there's comes into a big old pissing match on a lot of that stuff, far as how much he shows too much, and so do we have anything new going on in here? So yeah, I noticed you kind of had a kind of an empty truck too, man, and that makes me feel a little bit better. And I understand, if you're in business and stuff, you understand that you got to pay taxes on that inventory over and over and over again. That's Uncle Sam screwing you pretty good, because I forget exactly, it's used tax, or I forget exactly what it's called, but basically you got to pay money on the inventory that you have on your truck, which is ridiculous. So I understand that. So even inventory is evil. I understand that. And, they're charging for them for you to go back anyhow. So why should they stock it? For me, it's a convenience factor. It's a matter of getting in and get out. I don't know if that one's for me or not, but thank you if that is. Appreciate it. And then also any of the super chat stuff that I noticed in the past, I think I got one or two of them in the last few of them, and I apologize. I did not recognize that, so I do apologize for that. I do appreciate those things. Haven't seen any that come through yet, but I haven't put any Patreon out there. Honestly, I thought about just throwing the PayPal out there, because that's probably the one that screws you the least. I don't necessarily do it for the money. I do get some advertising money. You get like a penny per commercial that's in there. So if you notice my videos that are over 11 minutes, I'll put one in the beginning, and I'll try to do them every 3.5 to 4 minutes after that. I don't want to kill you with them, but it's nice to get at least a little something for your time making these things. I mean, it ain't the real reason why we're doing it. And basically, it's a little bit of a payback on that. Show me some pictures of that, man. Email them to me. I'd love to see it. HVAC survival, all one word, no / or anything like that at Gmail. I'd love to see the ladder crane that you built, man. I literally borrowed 3 to 4 different people's ideas and put it all into one. That's why I'm not going to try to sell it. I'm not going to get no copyright infringements, and I'm none of, and to go through proper testing and stuff to make sure that it can handle the weight and all that stuff is expensive. And if one of them would fail and somebody gets hurt, you're getting sued, and I don't want that. And that's the reason why I threw it out there for you guys to do what you want with it. That's the reason why I didn't try to sell them. I'm even leery about throwing out what the measurements are, because I don't know what you can get in trouble for and with what you're not. Luckily, I've got a friend that's a magistrate and has, obviously has his law degree to be a magistrate. And I asked him about the video as far as, legalities of someone doing something on your videos and stuff like that. And, he didn't think it was possible, but, there's a lot of crooked people out there. And I'm just trying to help people out and enjoy myself doing it and stuff like that. So there's a reason why a lot of times that, I don't show too much, or I put those disclaimers and stuff. Yeah. Honestly, like I said, on my videos and stuff, I don't know how much time you spend on yours, but I mean, even if the video is 45 minutes long, I may spend, because I'm kind of a perfectionist on stuff. I don't, I may say the wrong word. Say it's a gauge and it's really a cylinder or a hose, and it might be, or a thermistor and it's a thermocouple, or vice versa, whatever. And basically, I don't, I want it to look good. So it takes a lot. And the versatility was the biggest thing for me, because on the first one I built on that ladder crane, basically it's set there. I literally built it because I knew I was going to be lifting a, thank you. I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate it. So basically, I made that thing because I had a compressor. It was a pretty good size one. I'd say it probably weighed, 75 pounds. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but you think about it, you're doing it one-handed and you're climbing a ladder. So technically, you're now at an OSHA violation to begin with, because you have to have 3 points of contact on the ladder.
We literally are pretty big into our safety stuff. So, you gotta be careful. Never know who's out there watching you with their binoculars and a camera, So, cool, man. I appreciate that. Awesome. Basically, I made it for that purpose there, and I used it. And at that time, I didn't have my 18-volt drill, and I ended up using my 12-volt Bosch. And that Bosch has never been right since. I used it in high speed, and it ran it up. And the brushes on that thing got smoked. I mean, they worked, but it never had the speed. It never smelled normal again. So, and then basically, I ended up using an 18 volt, and that did okay. And then I tried the Impact, and that didn't work for crap either. So I did a compressor change this summer, and it didn't work. Well, there we go. I froze for a moment. And basically, I looked at that crane thing, and I thought, man, I've only used this thing once or twice in the whole freaking year or two that I've had it. And it kind of sucks. And it's like, do I want to spend 130, 150 bucks? So I thought, well, I can justify it if I can use it for other things. So, if I want to load something onto a trailer, because I have a small come along and that's not very long. And I thought, if I made it more useful, the thing would have been great. Randy, you change your messenger. I tried getting a hold of you, man. You were going to be the other guy I tried to get a hold of today. That maybe you guys all hate me now and you just don't want to talk to me no more. I don't know. You made me feel bad. I think I'm going to go hide and crawl in a corner somewhere in my safe space. But all reality, though, yeah, that was the reason why I did that multiple different uses for that thing. I mean, a lot of times you're going to run into straight hatches. For me, that was a ladder that was already on the building on a couple different aspects. So I wanted to be able to definitely do that. And then basically, that was a big one. And then using the straight ladder like I did and stuff, it worked out pretty good. Ooh, man. Yeah, that would kind of scare me, man. $1,500 for a camera. I mean, I had a Nikon D90. What the hell was it? Or 7,000? No, it was 7,000. Yeah, it was 7,200. It was a Nikon D7200. That was the one I got rid of, and then traded it for my computer I got now and stuff. But yeah, I'd be a little bit leery about that. Not to mention, I mean, if the GoPro gets stolen, which that's the GoPro right there. I can't complain for $300, $400. I mean, if I drop it, which I did, and I put a little bit of a curvature into the side of the plastic, no big deal. That just scares me. Yeah, it'd be neat to have it and stuff. And I thought about buying another GoPro and stuff, but yeah. Which one did you end up going with, Vlogger? Did you go with probably a Canon, did you? So, but yeah, I appreciate that on the lift and stuff like that. Yep. I've watched yours on a few different ones, especially like when the Corona thing was getting busy and stuff like that. So yeah, the GoPro for me, I use it in linear so that it doesn't give you that fisheye effect, which, a lot of people don't like and things like that. So, but I do appreciate that because I definitely want to hear back on things. If, if you like, I got 4 thumbs downs. Well, what didn't they like about it? I wonder, is it just I don't like these type of videos, or you suck, or you did it wrong, or what is it? Because I don't know. I'm not an engine guy. I've got family members that are big into engine repair and stuff like that are certified by Bridge & Stratton, Kohler, Tecumseh, and a few other ones. And so when I have problems and stuff and it's not in the books, I hate reading books. Especially for like service manuals and stuff like that. I call them sometimes because it's like, okay, I'm not sure I'm doing this right. So basically, I'll double check with those guys because I'm not going to lie. I'm not a gearhead. Like I said, I was in electronics. I was into audio and video and computers and stuff like that. Was not into motors. That was never my thing. I mean, I had a Ford Ranger pickup and truck in school and like a Beretta car, and, I just never was big into the engine thing. For our 12 low temp, like Hotshot 2, I got it on my truck. If it's a TXV, I will dump the oil and put 134A in it. If it's a cap tube, I'll stick with the Hotshot. I was big into 409. I like that stuff too. That worked really good. Hot Shot 1 was fairly okay. Anytime we had a cap tube, we would stick with the alternative refrigerants just because we didn't want to break things loose. As soon as you switch to poly oil, it tends to break things loose and it plugs those capillary tubes up. So that was why we'd stick with that. But if you had a TXV or something like that, like in the one video, one of the first couple I did when I first came back, I had a video that had been sitting there, and I went ahead and dumped the oil out of it. I showed how to do that. It was a semi-hermetic compressor, blew it out, threw in the POE oil, and then dumped in 134A and walked away from it. When I first started, the retrofitting stuff was such a, oh no, you got to have a refractometer and you've got to be down to 1% to 2%, no more. You got to do 4 oil changes, blah, blah, blah. And then nowadays you got people dumping the crap right on top of it and not taking nothing out and everything else. And you know what? I've seen it work too. I watched guys, with pop machines dump 134A in and not even put POE oil in it. I've seen, even like on some of these old Taylor ice cream machines, the compressor's on bottom, oil return, it's eventually going to get down there. I've seen them put, 20% or whatever of POE oil in there to help push it back. Because, I mean, if you think about it, what is in Hot Shot that makes Hot Shot work without changing the oil? It's the flammable refrigerants in there. I forget exactly which one it is now because my mind just went blank. But basically, that's what pushes that oil, the mineral oil, back. In the beginning days when this came out, they said, those two oils don't mix. And then they put them together and they'd shake them up and they'd be like, look, it's foaming. You don't want that. And I mean, the things we've learned since that time and stuff, it's crazy. So, new comments, click. There we go. Actually, Hot Shot, because it's flammable, they say not to use it in cars. So you really shouldn't, even though I don't think it's going to hurt anything. You're not supposed to. So I got to say, don't do it, because if you get in an accident and you catch on fire, then it's bad. But that new crap they came out with, which is like 1234 YXZ or something like that, I have a funny feeling that it's flammable too, but I don't remember for certain. Taylor certified. You're part of the mafia there, man. Communist bastards that won't let none of us in. 408 has been the weapon of choice. Yeah. I think that's what Stolding said they were going to. I can't remember. Like I said, we've got some new machines coming out that we're leasing out that are due here in July that we're going to be swapping out. Their gravity, we're taking out the pressurized pump systems, and they're going to be gravity, which we've already had really good luck with them so far. So the kids, they're younger kids at these food restaurants stuff and things like that we have these machines rented out. We got 5 stores that we got them in, and they just don't want to do the work on them, and then it ends up basically creating more headaches for me and things like that. iPhone 8, I honestly get pretty much the same thing out of my Note 9, I think is what I got here. It's 9 or 10. It might be a 10. I don't know. It's funny how into electronics and stuff like that I was into at one particular time, but it's funny, as you get a little older, you just don't care anymore. I don't know what exactly it is, but it is interesting anyhow. Like to know, haha. Yeah. Mafia, basically, if you're referring to what I'm saying far as the Taylor, if you're not in the Taylor network there, which like around here, there's one company up in Cleveland area. Trying to think of their freaking name. They're the only one around this area. And then otherwise, you got to go into Indiana to get the other one. They literally got it locked down to where they're like the only ones that they allow in here, and they won't let anybody come to it. So, yeah, I hit 70 today, I think is what we had. I was going to go ride. I started the motorcycle up. I want to sell that and get me something a little bit bigger and better. And I've been itching to do that yet. So I want to get it cleaned up and get it ready to go. So looking to get something a little bit bigger that I can go for longer rides and stuff. My dad's got one of the Can-Am Spiders, and he wants to go halfway across the country with it, and I can't do that with 750 Kawasaki. It just isn't made for it. So, did you ever put in there? Yeah, 6,400. Okay, yeah. I was watching one guy that I kind of try to get advice on different cameras and how to use the open broadcast system and stuff. And he was pushing the 6,500, which I'd seen that thing was right around about $1,000 or something without a lens. I know Zach uses a 6,000, I think it is, or six something, because he was the first one that told me about that. And then using the Cam Link, which I've got right here, you can see it. So Cam Link's working great. Can't complain. Thank you, Zach. So, but yeah, maybe we'll save some of the adoption thing there, or if not, we can always go into that thing later, whatever. So, but yeah, so if you guys got any more any questions or anything like that for me, by all means, Randy, if you want to come on, man, I can cut and paste the link there for you. If not, we may just go ahead and start wrapping this thing up here. We're at an hour and a quarter. I don't want to make it so long that the poor thing ends up having 3 days to calculate itself. I noticed the last one I did where I went 2 hours and 30 some odd minutes. That thing ended up taking almost 2 days. It cut the beginning off the video, and then eventually the rest of it came back, which was kind of crazy and interesting that it ended up doing that. Yeah, I can work on Taylor out of warranty. I don't like working on it just because, I finally got the books for some of it. I don't have all the books. But, so far, honestly, believe it or not, is the oldest Taylor machines out there. They're 20, 25 years old. The 335, I think it is. The damn things last forever. And because, they're $18,000, and up for the big one, I mean, people don't throw them away. Even the little beaters and stuff, they just... They go forever. So let me look here one last time and stuff and go through some other things. Randy, you never did reply, man. So anyhow, don't have any comments or anything in here with any questions and stuff. But like I said, I'm going to try to release that other video that I was working on today with the evaporator. Going to hopefully have that done sometime by the end of tomorrow. If you notice, I've been trying to release videos on Thursday. Generally, it ends up being really late, at least where I'm at. 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock is still 3 hours over there to the West Coast. So that's always kind of cool to go to bed. Next thing you know, it's been viewed 700-800 times by the morning time, which is kind of interesting to see. So that works out kind of cool and stuff. And then I hope to dump that on there. And then for the most part, everything should pick up again on Monday. Then with me being on call, I should get some stuff there. I haven't asked about doing the grocery store stuff. I know that was something some of the guys were talking about on not being able to show it and stuff. That was last night with the bathroom talk there. So I was going to do my show sitting on the toilet. I thought that'd be kind of cool. If you guys watched Overtime last night, the dude was in the freaking bathtub. So yeah, it was quite interesting to see. But yeah. So, yep. Sean. Work on the new Hvacr remote like Quiet Cube. I don't do a lot of Hvacr, which is funny. I actually got their hat on right now. I've been through their class and stuff. Generally, a few of the restaurants have got it. Basically, I'm not real great at them. I'll be honest with you. It's only because I haven't worked on a crap load of them. I know just like anything, almost every ice machine, the number one thing that knocks an ice machine off its feet is basically being dirty, not being taken care of. So the very first thing I do on any ice machine I work on is I run cleaner through it first thing, then I tear it apart and then clean it, and then put it back together and then see how it goes. On Hvacr, definitely keep a track of those evap plates. They separate. Don't use the different type of cleaner. Don't use the stuff like, say, Nickel Safe or something for a Manitowoc and a Hvacr. Don't use Hvacr's Stay Clean, I think it is, in a Manitowoc. The two different cleaners will destroy each other's evaporator plates. One's stainless steel, but the solder behind it's obviously not, so it'll let go and fall apart. Same thing with the Manitowoc. It'll strip the nickel coating off if you use that and the other. So one big thing there is don't do them both. Don't intertwine those two different things. So I was going to actually throw up one of my old videos from one of my ice machines from a while back. I actually started editing it and chopping things out. And the next thing I know, it had a sync issue where the voices and the picture got all out of whack. And I just need to download it directly and not mess around trying to do it through the program that YouTube provides and stuff. So since I ain't getting any other things here, basically I'm going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. I appreciate you guys popping in here. If you would, go ahead and hit the thumbs up for me down there. And then like on the videos and stuff, if there's something you don't like about it, feel free to leave it in there. Let me know what it was you didn't like instead of just Hvacr, or you give me the thumbs down. That way I kind of know what's going on and stuff. It just lets me know where to go. I can't cater to everybody, but basically at least lets me know, is it something I did wrong, or is it something just you didn't like it because it was not something you wanted to watch? It ain't necessarily what I did wrong, but it just lets me know where I'm going with things and stuff. Because without you guys watching it, it's pointless to even do these things. Even like now where I'm talking to myself and things like that, even though I can obviously do it for an hour and 20 minutes, no problem at all. It's easy to do. So, feedback, man. That's the biggest thing. I love hearing the feedback. It motivates me to keep going and to keep doing them, I'm sure. And I'm hoping that it helps some people out there. Obviously, it's not going to be great for everybody. Some of us are all at the same level. Some of us are better than me, whatever. It is what it is. So, but yeah, if you would hit the like button and stuff, leave me feedback on the videos and stuff. And we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. So I appreciate everyone taking the time to stop in here and to say hi. I'm looking for some new people to interview type thing. If you want to come on the show, by all means, please email me. It's HVACR survival@gmail.com, and we'll get something set up. Obviously, I like to keep it fun and fluent and moving along. I'm not looking for your deepest, darkest secrets or anything like that. Just looking for something to keep it interesting so that we can keep the conversation going and making it engaging for the audience out there. So with all those things said, guys, I really appreciate you stopping by. Until next time, we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good night. Stay safe.